Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2014 Cadillac Escalade ESV luxury all-wheel drive. Up front is a 6.2 liter V8, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Escalade ESV for two reasons. First of all, I recently drove a 2005 Cadillac Escalade ESV. The second reason I'm excited is because it is an Escalade. This is a post-recession Escalade, as Cadillac was kind of clawing their way back up to profitability after the 2008-2009 financial crisis. So we have a lot to talk about in this big body Caddy. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackprato.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. Last but not least, huge thank you to North Naperville Autos for letting me borrow their Cadillac Escalade for today's video. You can browse their inventory down in the description below. But let's get back to that 6.2 liter V8. Well, as the 6 liter V8 was phased out, this got the 6.2, which was an updated and upgraded V8. This also can run on flex fuel, meaning it can run on E85. GM had a really big push for that in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and it seems to have fizzled out, but you can run this on E85. And so it made good power and torque, and the ESV, being the extended Escalade, only got the 6.2 liter, where the standard Escalade could still be had with a 6 liter V8, a smaller V8. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic. One of the many upgrades over the 2005 that this vehicle has is 2 more gears and a lot more reliable of a transmission, so that is very nice to see. Last but not least, as the title suggests, this is the all-wheel drive ESV, and you could find them in rear-wheel drive if that's something that you wanted, but whoever originally spec'd this wanted all 4. How does it feel to drive the 2014 Cadillac Escalade? Well, it's as you would expect. It is a nice, comfortable, cozy experience that I quite like. Visibility is decent out the front. Out the back, obviously not that much, but you are driving a short bus, so keep that in mind. And all the touch points here are very 2010s Cadillac. A lot of their products shared a lot of DNA. Again, a lot of parts saving and cost saving going into that. But if you drive an SRX from this era or a Cadillac CTS, you know, they all have similar touch points and similar feeling, and I think that's a good thing coming from a certain automaker. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer. Up in the center is my coolant temperature and fuel, and off to the right is the speedometer with a very optimistic 160 miles an hour. Seems a little high for this vehicle. We also do get that little screen. We have some information that we can swipe through, which is really nice, and GM has done this for years and years and years, stretching all the way back to the late 90s with the C5 Corvette. On the steering wheel on the left, we do have our cruise control options as well as our heated steering wheel, and off to the right we have our skip track and voice commands. To the left, we do have a climate control vent, headlight switch, dome light switch, and fog light switch. And moving out of the door, we have our 2 levels of memory seats, power mirrors, power windows, and power locks. Moving into the center, we have probably one of the most useless analog clocks ever. You really only get 2 numbers and then 3 lines. It's abstract. It's not very useful. Don't know why they did this. Down below, we do have a touchscreen radio. This is the factory radio, so very nice for 2014. As well as we do get a backup camera. 4 years before it was legally required, we do get a backup camera, so here it is. Not great, but again, it wasn't required, so the quality didn't really matter. Down below, we do have our radio controls. Pretty simple stuff here. We do have a CD player, which is nice, but then we get the climate controls. 2 interesting things to note here. First of all, we do get dual zone and heated and ventilated seats. So really, really nice options here. The heated and ventilated seats and the dual zone, absolutely wonderful. The other thing is that these dials, if you turn it really fast, the number can't keep up. So it's almost like the punching machine at the arcade where you punch it and then it shows you how much force you exerted, but the number keeps going up and up and up well after you deliver the punch. That's kind of how these feel. Very, very unique. Then we do have our pedal adjustment. Very nice to see that, especially for shorter drivers. This is actually for the steps that come down. You can actually turn this off. So that is very nice. Then we do get an ashtray and cigarette lighter and the cup holders. So we'll do a big friggin' bottle test. This fails no matter what. So unfortunately, the Escalade is a fail. Then we do have a dual opening center console, so you can open up the top compartment as well as a lower compartment. Very, very nice to see that. And then we'll talk about the seats. The seats are memory heated, ventilated, power, all the fixings you could want besides massage. So I will take it. They are very, very comfortable and very nice. However, speaking of seats, we have 2 more big rows of seating. So let's go do some backseat reviews. All right, so we're in the second row of the 2014 Cadillac Escalade ESV. And I just want to take a quick moment. If you don't know what the ESV is, basically it's the extended version of the Cadillac Escalade. The standard Escalade shares a platform and pretty much everything with the Chevy Tahoe. This shares a platform and everything with the Chevy Suburban. Now, underneath they're very similar, but it's a stretched version. One giveaway you could tell on the side of the vehicle is that the ESVs actually have a straight cut door. It doesn't have to account for the wheel well, where the shorter Escalade, the standard Escalade, does have to account for the wheel well. So they actually have different rear doors, which is kind of interesting. But moving back in here, we do have our own climate controls, heated seats, fan speed source, inputs for the screen, as well as a 12-volt outlet. And speaking of which, we have 2 DVD players. So one right here, which actually still has the plastic on it, as well as one back here. We get vents in the ceiling, which is very nice and can all be controlled down below. We also get captain's chairs. Very, very nice to see that. And this is a nice place to be. This is first class. You know, I get to enjoy my movies, maybe a light refreshment, and we'll be landing soon. However, this is the ESV, so we do have a third row as well as a bunch more cargo space behind the third row. So let's move on to that. All right, in the third row of the ESV, and I'm 5'11", not a small guy. I can sit up here pretty well. My head's coming close to the ceiling. I think if you're above 6 foot, you might have an issue back here. But you still have more space than you would in the regular Escalade, and it's not a minivan. If you really use the third row every single day of your life, please go buy a minivan. I say this in all my 3-row SUV videos. Get a minivan. But if you need to tow something and take 3 rows of people, and you want the heated, cooled seats and the nice Cadillac badge, this is what you got. So we do have cup holders in the very back as well. 3 seat belts back here, so you could fit a third person. And as I mentioned, the DVD player. Funny enough, the plastic is not still on this one. Kind of weird. Anyway, let's hop into the very back, because even despite all this rows of seating, we still have trunk space, which is the big advantage of the ESV. So let's hop back there. All right, it seems as though I'm filming in a wind tunnel today, so I apologize, but we do have a button on the inside of the handle, and it is a power operated tailgate. Very, very nice to see. Now, this is the big benefit of the ESV, because in the normal Escalade, it would cut off right there. Maybe you get 6 inches of cargo space when the third row is up. Not the case here in the ESV. We do get a 12-volt outlet over here as well. Very, very nice things to see, but that's it. That's the amount of space that you get behind the third row in the ESV, and that is a huge benefit for families, people who travel a lot, and so on and so forth. We do have a button up here to close the power tailgate. Absolutely love to see that. I can't believe I almost missed it. Here on the key fob, we have a button to pop just the rear glass. So this does retain that feature, which I absolutely love in SUVs. I think every SUV should have this feature. Just simply lovely, and you do that on the key fob. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look of this Escalade. I don't think it's nearly as iconic as the first generation. The first generation was so solidified in everyone's mind and the zeitgeist of just popular culture. This less so. I think it is very clearly an Escalade and very clearly a updated version or successor to the first gen. However, However, it's not as striking in my book and just doesn't have that classic appeal, but I do think that it's still a good looking automobile, so I can't hate on it too much. Of course, it's black because every Escalade is either black, white, or silver. No one buys these in any fun or interesting colors, so that's what we get here today. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 2014 Cadillac Escalade? Well, I've of course liked this experience. This is still full on Caddy. You get the nice features. It rides nice, and it has that curb appeal of something that is nicer and above the rest. The Escalade has really been the torchbearer for the Cadillac brand for the last 20 years. Sure, the CTS-V, but I don't think the CTS-V really has the cultural impact of the Escalade, and it doesn't have the broad appeal. Non-car people know what an Escalade is and want an Escalade. It takes a thing or two to understand and want a CTS-V. I think this is the standout Cadillac product of the last 20 years, and I don't think many people will fight me on that. There are some cutbacks in here for sure. The materials don't feel as nice as they did in 2005 or compared to today. Cadillac couldn't afford it. GM couldn't afford it. With their bailout money, they had to keep it tight. You could see that the A-pillars are starting to wrinkle. They used less glue and inexpensive glue. Their famous wood grain is now colored plastic. The leather doesn't feel as nice as it once did or does today. So you see in all these little corners where the money was saved. However, I think that they did a relatively good job maintaining the status of the Escalade. They didn't chop it down. They didn't put the Escalade name on a tiny little two-row crossover. It maintained its full truck frame and the assets that made the Escalade special in the first place. They just had to cut some corners here and cut some corners there. But that's okay. This is still a very, very nice luxury SUV. Just maybe a little bit different. And that's okay. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to North Naperville Autos for letting me borrow their 2014 Cadillac Escalade for today's video. They are absolutely wonderful. They always have cool and interesting inventory. Please go check them out with the link in the description below. They offer financing, they offer shipping, as well as they now offer mobile detailing. So very, very cool. They are your one-stop shop in the Chicagoland area, and I'm very, very appreciative of them. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.